The morning we laid my wife, Diana, to rest, the rain came at an angle that felt personal. It hit hard enough to sting, cold enough to crawl straight through a coat and settle in your bones. I stood there gripping the twins' hands while the pastor tried to say something comforting about brain cancer, as if a few verses could soften that kind of cruelty. Emma kept tugging on my sleeve, asking where her mom had gone. Leo didn't say much at all. He just wanted to go home. They were only 4 years old. Heaven and eternal peace didn't mean anything to them. What they got instead was mommy's gone and the smell of funeral flowers clinging to the back seat of a rental car. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. The cemetery emptied fast. People mumbled the same old lines, the ones you're supposed to say at funerals. Call anytime, she was so strong. You're not alone. Then they ducked out before the wind turned their umbrellas inside out. I didn't cry. Couldn't. Not while I was holding two little kids who still thought a hug could fix anything. We were staying at Diana's parents' place, William and Patricia's house out in Springfield, Ohio. That's where the twins had their beds, their stuffed bears, and the cereal Diana used to hunt down on sale. We'd been living there for months. When we pulled into the driveway that day, the first thing I noticed was the new lock. Bright brass, polished up like it wanted to show off. I'd replaced the old one myself back in June when it started sticking. This wasn't the same one. Still, I tried the key. Nothing. I knocked once, then harder. My sleeve dripped onto the doormat. The porch light flicked on, almost curious. Patricia opened the door just enough for the chain to hold. Her makeup was perfect, lipstick fresh like she'd just come from somewhere better. "Vanessa needs the front rooms for her bridal studio," she said, voice clipped and professional, like I was interrupting a meeting. Vanessa, Diana's younger sister. A woman with $1,000 smile and a $2 conscience. I stared at Patricia, barely believing what I was hearing. "We just buried Diana," I said. William appeared behind her, his expression set like concrete. "Nathan, you're 32. You'll figure it out. We can't keep bleeding money." Then he closed the door, on me, on my kids, on the day we'd buried their daughter. Leo tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, you forgot the key," he said softly. Emma started crying. My phone was dead, of course. I'd spent all morning taking condolence calls, juggling two toddlers, and stopping Emma from climbing onto a gravestone with someone else's name on it. So I sat in the driver's seat of my old sedan, fogging up the windows while Emma sobbed herself breathless and Leo rubbed her back. My socks squished in my shoes. That's when Vanessa showed up. Big SUV, designer sunglasses, music blaring, some upbeat pop song that didn't belong anywhere near a funeral day. Garment racks hung out of the back like she was setting up shop. She waved her phone at the door and William opened it right away. No chain this time. She got a hug. I turned the key and drove. Ended up at the little diner off Route 33, the one where Diana and I used to split a slice of pie every Tuesday because it was 40% off. Carol still worked there. She spotted us and didn't ask a single question. "Sit," she said, bringing warm milk for the twins and coffee for me. When I told her what had happened, she cursed under her breath and disappeared in the kitchen. A few minutes later, her boss, Frank, a quiet man with a limp, came out holding a paper. "Motel voucher," he said. "Don't argue." When I stood to leave, Carol pressed $75 into my palm. "Groceries," she said. "Don't be proud." That night, in a cheap motel room that smelled like broken air conditioning and somebody else's cologne, I laid the twins between a pile of pillows and stared at Diana's photo until the streetlight outside flickered out. I whispered, "I'm not rolling over." She might have been gone, but I wasn't. And no one, William, Patricia, or Vanessa, was going to decide who my kids were. Morning came with the twins tangled together like puppies and a coffee maker that hissed like it hated me. I peeled myself out of the rough sheets and plugged in my phone. 3% battery. Figures. While it charged, I sat at the tiny table and made a list. First thing, find a lawyer. I called a guy a friend from my old firm had recommended. He picked up on the second ring, asked a few sharp questions, then said, "Meet me at 10. Bring anything that proves you live there." On the way, I took a detour. Couldn't help it. Drove past the house, our house, even if the deed said otherwise. There was a delivery van out front. Two guys were hauling in boxes labeled TIFF Bridal, like some grand opening was happening. Vanessa stood on the porch in high heels, clipboard in hand, smiling like the world owed her applause. She waved at me. She actually waved, like we were still on good terms, like I was just some friendly neighbor passing by. I didn't wave back. At the lawyer's office, I emptied my folder onto his desk. Anything I could dig up that tied my name to that house. Envelopes with my address, my driver's license, Leo's preschool paperwork, a half-crumpled cable bill, even a grocery rewards card that showed up in the mail a few weeks back. I was locked out the same day we buried my wife, I told him. He leaned back, eyes steady. They changed the locks that day? I nodded. That was all I had left to say. He gave me a slow, careful nod in return, the kind of calm you only see in surgeons and lawyers who've seen everything. Then he said we could file for a civil standby. That meant an officer would meet me at the house, make sure I could get inside, and keep anyone from causing trouble while I collected our things. He talked about constructive eviction and implied tenancy, a wall of legal terms I only half caught. All I really heard was this: what they'd done wasn't legal, not with two little kids left out in the cold. But there was something I hadn't told him, something I hadn't said to anyone. Not even to Carol. The house wasn't mine, wasn't even Diana's. William and Patricia still held the deed, though they had a small mortgage left to pay. We'd moved in when I was 29. The twins came 8 weeks early, and everything we'd saved disappeared into ambulance bills and hospital fees. The arrangement had been simple, just a handshake. We'd help cover the mortgage, take care of the house, and save toward a place of our own someday. I paid the electric, the gas, the internet, trash pickup, groceries, and half the mortgage every month through online transfer. I cut the grass, patched drywall, and fixed that leaky refrigerator that kept flooding the kitchen. When Diana got sick, every dollar we'd saved turned into co-pays, medications, and rides to the cancer clinic when she was too weak to drive. And still, they called it helping us. By noon that day, a police cruiser rolled up to the curb outside the house. Quiet, no siren, just steady. The officer stepped out, polite and even-voiced, the kind of guy whose whole job was keeping things peaceful. He explained the process, said I had the legal right to enter and collect our belongings, and asked everyone to stay calm. Patricia didn't argue, but her jaw clenched until the skin around her mouth went white. Inside, I almost didn't recognize the place. The walls, once blue-gray, Diana's favorite color, had been painted a soft beige, like something straight out of a bridal catalog. White curtains where blackout shades used to hang, silk flowers everywhere, mirrors propped against every wall. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt staged, empty. Our bedroom was gone. Leo's dinosaur sheets were stuffed into a trash bag near the bathroom. This is disruptive, Vanessa said, arms folded like I'd walked in swinging a hammer. You're using a grieving mother's room to sell wedding dresses, I shot back. She blinked, but her face didn't change. I might as well have been background noise. I ignored her and went straight for what mattered, the pieces of our life that couldn't be replaced. Diana's sketchbooks, the family photo albums, crayon drawings taped to the old dresser, Leo's bedtime book with the torn spine, Emma's stuffed hippo missing one eye. William stood in the hallway, muttering under his breath about carrying you people for years. I let him talk. The cop was still watching from the living room, and I wasn't going to risk losing my chance at a clean exit. Then I spotted Diana's laptop in the closet, half hidden behind a stack of bridal magazines. The cord was still neatly wound, like she'd planned to open it again. Back at the motel, after the twins finally drifted off, I set the laptop on the desk and flipped it open. The screen was cluttered with files, but one folder stood out. DHN. My stomach turned. Inside were notes, sketches, business outlines, and a logo she must have drawn in the middle of the night. It said Diana's Home Network, real work, fair people. She'd been designing something big, a place where homeowners, contractors, and designers could connect honestly. No scams, no markups, just transparency. Photos, prices, reviews. Everything out in the open. She'd talked about it once, in passing. People get taken advantage of because they don't know who to trust, she'd said. Turns out she'd been working on fixing that problem while I was stressing over building codes and permit forms. Every margin had her handwriting in it. Don't overbuild this. Let people leave bad reviews. If someone scams a client, take them off. No warnings. I sat there under the weak motel light while the twins snored behind me, reading her words until my eyes stung. It felt like she was still right there, whispering over my shoulder. Keep it simple, keep it honest. She never got the chance to finish it. But I could. I stayed up 2 more hours, studying every page of that folder until I had it memorized. The next morning, Carol showed up again, same diner uniform, same kindness, holding a folded sheet of paper. It was a list of apartments. No deposits, month to month, she said. You'll have to stretch, but it's clean. 2 bedrooms, near a bus line. I signed the lease that afternoon. We moved in with 5 boxes and a bag of groceries. The twins picked the room with the corner window and claimed it like royalty. 3 days later, I reserved the community room downstairs. It smelled like lemon cleaner and old linoleum, and the folding chairs were every shade of beige imaginable. But there was a television with a working HDMI port, and that was all I needed. I packed Diana's laptop and a backpack full of notes. 10 people showed up that night, maybe 11 if you counted the lady napping in the corner with her dog curled in her lap. Most were familiar faces from the building. A retired couple, a nurse with dark circles under her eyes, a handyman with his arm in a sling, a few guys who looked like life had kicked them around a few times. I stood in front of them, cleared my throat, and said, I need help making Diana's idea real. I opened Diana's old wireframes and cast the screen onto the television. The layout looked rough. Empty boxes, notes, placeholders, but the bones were there. The idea was solid. It was called Diana's Home Network, or DHN for short, a platform that connects homeowners with tradespeople without all the middleman nonsense. No paid listings, no fake leads, no hidden fees dressed up as service charges. You could search by zip code and find real, verified workers, upfront prices, job photos, direct phone numbers. If someone messed up or cheated a client, they were gone. No warnings, no second chances. At first, everyone just stared at the screen like I'd started speaking another language. Then Jake, the handyman with the bad shoulder, scratched his beard and said, My cousin's a plumber. He'd love steady work without paying some lead farm every month. Rachel, the night shift nurse, leaned forward. My aunt dropped $2,500 on a deck last spring. The guy skipped town halfway through. This would have saved her. I nodded. That's the whole point. Honest work, no scams, no smoke and mirrors. Someone passed around a chipped ceramic bowl, wasn't my idea, and people started tossing in what they could. A few singles, crumpled bills, a couple 20s, a half-used Subway gift card, even a roll of quarters from the lady with the little dog. She apologized 3 times while doing it. By the end of that hour, we had $7,850 and a handwritten list of folks who wanted in. Welders, drywall guys, painters, 2 electricians, and a small landscaping crew willing to do odd jobs if it meant getting away from shady contractors. I walked back up to my apartment shaking, not from nerves, but from something I hadn't felt in a long time: momentum. The next morning, I called my old firm, told them I was looking for freelance permit work, anything to keep the lights on. My old boss, Steven, sounded surprised to hear from me. Take your time, Nathan. Good to hear your voice, he said. Then he sent over a contract that cut my old rate by 25%. I signed anyway. Pride doesn't buy shoes for kids or fill up a half-empty gas tank. That night, after the twins ate their microwave macaroni and fell asleep, I took what little we had left in the emergency fund and wired half of it to a small development shop in Columbus. 4 guys, 3 laptops, no marketing team. They built simple online tools for small local businesses. I didn't want glossy. I wanted something that worked. Keep it basic, I told them. No fancy templates, no flashy effects, just clean code that does what it's supposed to. They asked what to call the project. Diana's Home Network, I said. They didn't ask who Diana was, and I didn't explain. I just tucked Diana's initials into the footer and left it at that. A week later, I saw Vanessa's post on social media. V-style bridal grand opening. Our old address tagged right there under it. She stood in the same room where I used to read bedtime stories to Leo and Emma, gold curtains behind her, smiling for the camera. The caption said, "Started from nothing. Now look." I didn't comment, I just saved the post. 2 weeks later, the developers sent me a test link. It was ugly, clunky, like a classified ad glued to a spreadsheet, but it worked. You typed in your zip code and got 3 verified professionals with honest reviews. You could message them directly, no logins, no upsells, no bait and switch nonsense. That night, Jake showed up at my door. He handed me a folded slip of paper. "Got a guy for you," he said. "Name's Tony, carves wood like it's butter. Burned through 3 general contractors who never paid him." I met Tony the next morning at the same diner where Carol worked. He ordered eggs, barely looked up, and said, "If this keeps my calendar full and I don't have to chase checks, I'm in." That was enough for me. I built a simple sign-up form for workers, called every reference myself after the twins went to bed, and drove to job sites during nap time to take photos. My car started smelling like juice boxes and drywall dust. After a month, we had 15 tradespeople registered. 6 jobs posted, 4 completed. Nobody got stiffed. For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't just trying to survive. I was actually building something, something Diana had started, something our kids might one day point at and say, "That's ours." The site still looked rough, but it was alive. Tony already had 3 new projects lined up. Jake had brought in 3 more workers. The wheels were starting to catch. And that's when the phone rang. Block number. I almost ignored it, but habit won. "Nathan," a voice said. "William." Calm. Too calm. "We've gone over the numbers. You owe us 4 months of back rent." I let out a sharp laugh. "We paid half your mortgage, stocked your fridge, fixed your toilet twice, and replaced your gutters last spring." "Paper, Nathan," he said like he was preaching from a pulpit. "Paper says it's our house." Then I heard Patricia in the background, pretending she wasn't meant to be heard. "We have Vanessa's client experience to think about. His presence brings bad energy. The studio needs peace." "I have a lawyer now," I said, cutting them both off before they could pile on another lecture. Patricia actually laughed. "Oh, Nathan, that's adorable. What's next? A restraining order?" I hung up before she could say anything else. 3 days later, some guy in khaki showed up at my apartment. Shirt tucked in, buttons shining like they'd been polished with a car rag. He introduced himself as a family resolution consultant and said he had a form for me to sign. "Nothing complicated," he assured me. "You agree to never make a legal claim on the house, and they'll gift you $800, a gesture of goodwill." I stared at him long enough for the silence to start making him sweat. "My wife died in that house," I said, voice low. "My kids slept in those rooms." "I understand emotions are high," he said carefully, extending the pen again. I shut the door. Not a slam, just firm enough to send a message without waking Leo and Emma from their naps. Then I picked up my phone and opened Vanessa's social media again. More photos, soft lighting, silk curtains, champagne glasses set on the same table where Diana and I used to fold laundry. I typed out 3 different replies and deleted every one. Instead, I took a photo of the twins' new room. Bunk beds. A shelf lined with Diana's sketchbooks. That old stuffed hippo sitting proudly between them. Caption, "They're fine." Posted. Done. 2 nights later, I met the developers in person for the first time. We picked a rundown coffee shop near the bus station, the kind of place where the chairs wobbled and the chalkboard menu still had a backward letter. Derek, the lead guy, brought a beat-up laptop and a flip notebook covered in scribbles. We planned out the next version of the site, sketched a timeline on a napkin, and locked in a launch goal. 9 weeks. That same week, a woman from church named Linda caught me after service. Mid-40s, glasses on a beaded chain, sharp as a tack. She handled books for a few small businesses around town. "I heard you're starting something new," she said. "I can help you keep your personal and business money separate. You'll thank me at tax season." She offered to file the paperwork herself if I covered the state fees. I said yes before she could even finish her sentence. We registered it as DHN Connect, Limited Liability Company. The approval came through in 4 days. Then Stephen, my old boss, called. His tone was friendly, too friendly. "Just checking in," he said. "Sounds like you got something cooking. If you ever want to come back full-time, I can make room for you. Decent salary, but you'd need to drop the side project. Be practical, Nathan. You're a dad now." "I am," I told him. "That's why I'm doing this." And I hung up. That night, a new voicemail waited on my phone. Patricia again. "Nathan," she said in that voice that always mixed sugar with smoke. "Our money saved your family when Diana got sick. I think it's time you showed some gratitude." I sat there in the dark, Diana's laptop open on my knees, listening to her words play twice. Then I opened the DHN folder and reread Diana's notes. On the last page, there was a line I'd somehow missed before. Keep it simple. Keep it true. Gratitude didn't mean kneeling. It meant finishing what she started. So I got to work. I rewrote the homepage copy myself. Diana's rough tagline, real work, fair people, stayed exactly as it was. I added a clean submission form for homeowners and built a verification system for tradespeople. Most nights, I sat on the floor with my back against the apartment door, twins asleep on the couch, laptop on my knees. The glow of the screen was the only light in the room. I cross-checked contractor licenses, cleaned databases, and tested every link by hand. Vanessa kept posting. One photo showed wedding gowns lined up in front of the fireplace where we used to hang stockings at Christmas. Another was a branding plan laid out on our old kitchen table. She even tagged our zip code. I didn't reply. I just saved everything in a folder titled Documentation, Future Reference. The only thing I needed from that family now was distance. And the only thing I owed Diana was to keep her dream alive. Launch day wasn't glamorous. It was a Tuesday morning. I was still in sweatpants with cereal crusted on my shirt and a toddler screaming about the wrong color sock. No balloons, no press, no champagne, just a working link, a clean homepage, and Tony standing in front of a half-built porch saying, "Finally getting paid on time? Tell your cousin." That was enough. I posted on the neighborhood board with one line, real work. Fair people. DHN is live. The first day brought 95 users, mostly homeowners, a few trades. By the end of the week, we had 1,650 accounts. My phone never stopped buzzing. It would light up at midnight, then 2, then 4 in the morning. I started leaving it in the bathroom just to get some sleep. Still, Emma would climb onto the bed, poke my face, and whisper, "Daddy, your phone's dancing again." So I moved my office to the living room floor. Kids' shows humming in the background, one earbud in, answering messages while the twins built towers out of cereal boxes. Emma liked to help Daddy with houses. I let her click the submit button whenever a good review came in. She did it carefully, like it mattered, and it did. We rolled out a simple rating system, straightforward, no fluff. 4 solid jobs in a row earned you a trusted badge. 1 bad job, 1 lie, 1 no-show, and you were done. No appeals, no soft landings. Diana never believed in second chances for people who lied. Neither did I. By the 3rd week, Vanessa popped up in my feed again, a new promotional video. "Build your dream day," it said, with some syrupy background music swelling like it came straight out of a Disney trailer. The video opened with a staircase. My staircase. I knew every grain of that wood. I had refinished those steps myself the previous fall when Diana was still strong enough to sit nearby and talk to me while I worked. Vanessa had plastered her company's logo over it like she had done the sanding herself. I didn't blow up, didn't rant, just left a comment. Credit your pros. Within an hour, the comment section caught fire. Brides wanted to know who had done the woodwork. By lunchtime, Tony's phone was ringing off the hook. He called me, still laughing. "She really thought nobody would notice? That's your finish, man. No one else leaves risers that clean." By the end of the month, our platform passed 6,400 users. The map lit up like a patchwork quilt, new pins in every nearby county. It wasn't just locals anymore. Word was spreading the way it used to, through friends, text threads, backyard conversations, and one neighbor leaning over a fence saying, "Hey, you should check out this site." Then one night, I got a message from a guy named George, retired building inspector, 40 years in the field. His message said, "I'm old, I'm picky, and I know what I'm doing. If you need someone to verify jobs for code and safety, I'm your guy." I hired him before he even finished the message. The next day, William texted me a photo of a water bill with a note underneath. "Send $350 by Friday." I replied with a screenshot of my lawyer's email about our pending civil claim. No words added. He didn't respond. A few days later, I got an email from a local hardware chain. Nothing corporate or polished, just a small Midwest supplier with blue aprons and a clunky logo. They wanted to know if we'd be open to a small sponsorship in exchange for featuring their tool rental link on the site. I said, "We'll test it in 2 zip codes. No contracts, no promises, just a trial run." That Sunday, I dressed the twins and drove to the cemetery. We brought tiger lilies, Diana's favorite. Leo insisted on carrying them himself, mud on his knees as he fixed the flowers from our last visit. The wind was soft, not biting, and the grass was still damp from rain. I set my hand on the stone. Cold, smooth, familiar. "It's working," I told her. I didn't add the rest, the words I whispered every day. I wish you could see it. I believe she does somehow. On the drive home, Leo spilled his juice box in the back seat, and Emma yelled, "Grape flood emergency!" I turned up the radio, just enough to cover my thoughts, but not their laughter. Back at the apartment, I opened the dashboard and checked the numbers. 38 completed jobs, 71 homeowners waiting for matches, 14 professionals in the verification queue pending license checks and background screens. I called Tony. "You know any other carpenters?" He laughed. "What are you handing out, magic hammers?" "Nope," I said. "Just not screwing people." That night after the twins were asleep, I sat in the dark with the laptop glowing in front of me. I drafted a short onboarding guide for new professionals. Just 3 rules. 1, be honest. 2, do the job right. 3, don't test the third chance. You don't get one. I sent it to George to look over. He replied, "That last line belongs on a t-shirt. We weren't fancy. We weren't funded. But jobs were getting done. And that trusted badge actually meant something." I was knee-deep in reviews and prepping the next batch of professionals when a message came through the site's inbox. It was short, shaky, angry. "DHN, please refer me to the landscaper who took my deposit and disappeared. I'm a widow. I live on Westfield. This isn't what you promised." My chest went cold reading it. I didn't hesitate. I forwarded the message to George, grabbed my keys, and texted him, "Meet me at 843 Westfield." The woman's name was Mrs. Sullivan. Gray hair tied back tight, eyes sharp but trembling like she hated needing anyone. Her yard looked half-finished, a torn walkway, a pile of mulch, and a hole where a flower bed should have been. "250 up front," she said. He promised he'd be back Tuesday. That was 10 days ago. George didn't waste words. He took pictures, checked the dumped materials, and ran the guy's license. It was expired, completely bogus. He just looked at me and shook his head once. "We'll fix it," I told her. She eyed me like she couldn't decide if I was stupid or lying, probably both. "We're putting your job back on schedule," I said. "One of our trusted crews will finish it. You won't pay another dime." She studied me for a moment. "You run this thing?" she asked. I nodded once. She didn't thank me, just gave a small, tight nod in return, the kind people give when they're trying not to cry. Back home, which doubled as my office, I set up my phone on the edge of the folding table and hit record. No music, no editing, just me straight to camera. "We had a bad actor," I said. "We removed him, but that's not enough. If we made a promise, we're keeping it, even if it costs us." I laid it out simple. If a verified worker burned a client and it was on us, we'd fix it. No forms, no excuses. We'd make it right. Then I posted receipts, timestamps, screenshots, proof of the refund coming directly from our own funds. I expected quiet. Instead, the post caught fire. Shares, comments, tags from people I'd never met saying, "This is how you do it. This is how you earn trust. People don't forgive perfect. They forgive honest." While that was still blowing up, the mail arrived. Among the bills was a thick white envelope with gold trim and Vanessa's name embossed on the flap. Inside was an invitation. Her bridal brand launch event. Children discouraged. Dress code elevated evening. Attendance appreciated for optics. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I packed a diaper bag and ironed 2 hand-me-down sweaters. The building smelled like jasmine, fresh tile, and money I'd never touch. Emma looked around wide-eyed and asked if we were in a movie theater. Leo said the elevators were too shiny. The whole thing looked like a Pinterest explosion. Champagne towers, fake roses on a wall, a neon sign that read, "Say yes." Vanessa spotted me from across the room and blinked like she'd seen a ghost. William came over, offered a handshake as stiff as his smile. "How's your little website?" "It's buying groceries," I said, meeting his eyes. He grunted, clearly disappointed in the answer. Then Vanessa stepped up to the mic. She talked about family support and legacy spaces for women to dream, while standing in the exact room where Diana used to keep her maternity photos in a plastic shoebox under our bed. Leo tugged my pant leg asking for juice. Right then, a guy in a blue blazer leaned close. "You're the guy with that contractor platform, right? My mom needs a new roof. Got scammed last year. Can you help?" I handed him a card. Didn't say a word. Vanessa saw it all. Her face didn't move, but her hand tightened around the microphone. At the dessert table, Patricia cornered me like she was protecting a treasure vault. "We could offer you a loan," she said too loudly, her voice syrupy but sharp, "if you agree to move out and stop embarrassing us." "Embarrassing?" I asked. She tilted her chin. "You're playing the martyr. It isn't noble, Nathan. It's childish." I pulled out my phone, opened the photo of Emma's bunk bed and Diana's sketchbook sitting on the shelf. "I'll pay you back for every cent," I told her, "after I finish what Diana started." She laughed. Short, sharp, cutting. 3 days later, the hardware company called. They were expanding our pilot. 5 months across 10 counties. Not life-changing money, but enough to bring Linda on full-time and give me 4 more hours each week to build instead of chase paperwork. During the twins' nap, I opened my inbox and saw a message flagged urgent. A small investment firm in Detroit wanted to partner. The offer looked generous on paper, but came with fine print. They wanted exclusive rights to every trade connection we built through DHN. It looked like a lifeline, but it reeked of a leash. I archived it without replying. That night, there was a knock at the door. Carol stood there holding a beat-up cardboard box. Inside were casserole dishes, each labeled with someone's name in marker. "We took up a collection," she said. "Not much, but enough to help." At the bottom were checks, some cash, and an envelope from Frank, the diner manager. Inside a note. "First and last month's rent for a space near the bus line. Go see 185 Madison." I shook my head. "Carol, I can't." "You already did," she said. "Now go finish it." The next morning, I packed the twins into the car and drove to Madison. The place was narrow, ugly, and perfect. Carpet older than my first car. One flickering bulb above the front window. Leo ran circles around the room, yelling, "This is our store." Emma climbed onto a folding chair and asked if she could bring her stuffed hippo to work. We signed a 12-month lease for $950. Linda cried in the parking lot. I told her it was just dust in my eye. Later that night, Leo fell asleep under the front desk with a granola bar still in his hand. My email pinged. Subject line, "Feature confirmed, Sunday front page." It was from Nicole, the local reporter who'd visited a couple weeks earlier to ask about the widow's roof job. She'd shown up with a notepad and a photographer who used real film. I figured maybe a small mention on page 9, if we were lucky. Instead, she'd written a full story. Headline read, "The Contractor Dad. One father's promise becomes a platform." The photo showed me standing in the office doorway with Emma on my hip, her arm wrapped tight around my neck like it was the safest place on earth. Next to the article was a scan of one of Diana's early sketches, the first rough draft of DHN, written in her hand. The letters were uneven, simple, honest, exactly how she'd wanted it. By Tuesday, our numbers blew past 34,000 users across 3 counties. My inbox turned into a war zone. Messages from homeowners, tradespeople, city boards, even neighborhood groups. Every contractor who'd ever been stiffed by a general contractor wanted in. Every homeowner burned by a scam wanted a second chance. And with the growth came the scavengers. One of the big national lead resale companies, the kind that sells cold call lists like candy, sent us a cease and desist letter. Claimed our trusted badge looked confusingly similar to their elite sticker. George printed the letter, circled half of it in red pen, then wrote a reply that read like a polite middle finger translated into legal language. Still, we changed the design just to stay clean. Swapped the gold checkmark for a blue hammer. Then we added 2 extra verification layers, license, reference, job photo. Mess up once and you're gone. No appeals, no rewrites. That Thursday night, I got a voicemail from William. "You're profiting off my property," he said. "That article made it sound like you built all this under my roof." I let it sit, no reason to answer. The next morning, Vanessa posted another glossy reel, before and after shots of a backyard wedding setup, tents, lights, stone pavers. Only problem, the lighting design was mine. I'd sketched it by hand for another client the year before on graph paper that still had coffee stains from Diana's mug. She hadn't credited me. Again. This time, I didn't even bother to comment. I didn't have to. The comment section turned on her within an hour. One of the brides she'd ghosted called it out first. "Didn't this guy design your lighting plan?" Another dropped a screenshot from our site. By noon, Vanessa had shut off comments entirely. Not long after, a call came from a local number I didn't recognize. I ignored it, let it roll to voicemail. When I played it back, a calm voice said, "This is Jennifer Ross, Deputy Director of Community Development. I'd like to discuss a possible city pilot with someone at DHN. Please call me." I put on my cleanest shirt, still had a ketchup stain from Emma's dinner, and headed downtown. At City Hall, she explained the program. The city wanted to rehabilitate 4 vacant lots, full transparency on spending, local crews only, and at least 1 apprentice on each site. "This isn't just construction," she said. "We're trying to give kids a chance. Real work, real experience. Real work for real people." Diana had said those exact words once, sitting on the couch with a heating pad under her back and a pencil in her hand. I nodded. "We can build that." And we did. Tony lined up a crew. Jake found a drywall guy with 2 nephews looking for steady work. Linda handled the paperwork and made sure every line matched city compliance. We submitted the proposal in 36 hours. All 4 sites approved, small admin fee, big credibility. Linda uploaded the plan to our dashboard under a new section titled Proof. That weekend, Patricia texted me, "Bring the twins for Sunday lunch. We'd like to reconnect." I stared at it for a moment before replying, "We'll meet somewhere neutral." She shot back, "You're ungrateful." I typed one word, "busy," and put my phone face down. The same week, an email came from Steven, my old boss. Subject line, "Be practical." He offered a full-time senior position, health insurance, steady paychecks. At the end, he wrote, "This startup thing is admirable, but it's probably just a phase. Let's get you back where you belong." I printed the email, pinned it to the corkboard above the folding table, and wrote one word across the top in marker, "Fuel." 3 days later, the site buckled from traffic. Derek looked up from his laptop, pointed at the pinned offer, and said, "You want me to send him a screenshot of the crash page?" We both laughed, then spent the next 5 hours patching the back end, upgrading the servers, and rebuilding the review feed from scratch. That Friday, we passed 78,000 users. No champagne, no party, just cheap pizza, 3 folding chairs, and Leo falling asleep with a greasy slice in his hand. The sign on our window had been up 2 weeks, plain white vinyl letters. DHN Connect, real work. Fair people, simple, honest. So when an envelope arrived from the City Office of Preservation and Zoning, I figured it was just about permits for the rehab lots. It wasn't. Inside was a formal complaint filed by Vanessa. She claimed our window sign violated the visual harmony of the historic district. Attached were photos of the storefront, our logo, and a paragraph about preserving neighborhood charm that she definitely hadn't written herself. I set the letter down, leaned back, and exhaled slow. Next morning, my phone buzzed. A volunteer from the local council introduced himself, Victor. "She's trying to jam you up," he said. "We all know it. She pulled the same stunt when the bike co-op put a chalkboard out front." "Are we in violation?" I asked. "Not even close," he said. "Code 4.3b. You're within the limits for size, color, and material. She's just making noise." The hearing was public. Small room, scuffed tile, microphone that squealed every few minutes. I wore that same clean shirt again, ketchup stain and all. That same shirt again, still had that damn ketchup stain. Vanessa walked in like she was accepting an award, dressed in a cream pantsuit that probably cost more than my rent. She carried a neat folder of photos, quoted city code word for word, and argued that our logo disrupted the visual continuity of the block. Then came the public comments. First up was a woman, blonde hair pulled tight into a bun, mid-40s. "Amanda," she said, "DHN helped me replace my garage door after 2 contractors disappeared on me." Next was a man in paint-splattered boots. "I was out of work for 6 months," he said. "Then DHN put my number out there. I feed my kid with that money now." And it didn't stop there. 8 people spoke, clients, tradespeople, even George, one after another. When the vote came, it wasn't close, 6-1. We kept the sign. I didn't look back walking out. Vanessa stayed silent. The funny part, I never mentioned her name. Not once, not in public, not online. Didn't have to, because while I stayed quiet, a wedding vendor forum dug into her history on its own. Turns out borrowing other people's work was her habit. They tore her apart. Photographers called her out for uncredited edits. Florists posted timestamps showing their arrangements in her styled shoots without permission. I didn't comment. Didn't like a single post. I just saved everything. Screenshots, dates, usernames, source links. Linda called the folder the vault. Derek called it insurance. I didn't give it a name, just kept it backed up on a drive and moved on. A few days later, I was eating a cold turkey sandwich at my desk when a headline in the public records feed froze me. Foreclosure notice. William and Patricia. Their address. Vanessa's slow season. I didn't speak, didn't gloat, just stared until the text blurred. Linda looked over her glasses. This could be an opening, she said. It's also a trap, I told her. She nodded once. That's why we do it clean. That afternoon, we filed paperwork for a new holding company. Name, Clearview Properties, LLC. Purpose, investment and rehabilitation of distressed residential properties. Owner of record? Not me. A manager would handle the correspondence. Mail would route through a post office box 2 towns over. The first property marked for monitoring was William and Patricia's house. Not out of revenge. Out of order. Out of something I couldn't explain in words. I called a real estate lawyer, different guy than the eviction attorney. He walked me through the process, how to place a quiet bid, how to transfer title clean, how to handle occupants with a cash for keys offer if it came to that. Then he asked if I wanted an extra management layer for privacy. I said yes. That night, after the twins smeared spaghetti sauce on the couch, I rolled out a big sheet of drawing paper. Let's draw our house, I told them. Leo drew a blue door with a T-Rex guarding it. Emma drew a swing hanging from a tree and filled the sky with jelly bean-shaped stars. They asked if we could live there someday. Maybe, I said. I didn't tell them why my throat tightened, didn't tell them what house I was thinking about, didn't tell them I was getting ready to buy the same place someone else had once locked us out of. I just taped their drawings to the fridge and kept going. The city pilot wrapped on a gray Tuesday. Cheap donuts, lukewarm coffee, 4 ribbon cuttings across 4 zip codes. Every project finished on time, on budget, apprentices placed, paperwork perfect, no drama. The local paper ran a story. 5 families, 5 fixes, 1 platform changing the game. They included a picture of the kids holding clipboards beside Tony and George. Down in the corner, tiny initials, DHN. Most people didn't notice. I did. 20 months in, we'd passed 105,000 users across 16 counties. Verified professionals, repeat clients, people smiling after inspections instead of preparing lawsuits. That same week, the bank announced a sheriff's sale for William and Patricia's house. Clearview Properties LLC placed a quiet bid through the lien holder. Paperwork, escrow, digital signature, no flag, no noise. The sale went through for less than I expected. When I opened the file, there it was. Deed in Clearview's name. Possession pending occupants. I hired a property manager, a soft-spoken guy named Daniel. Daniel sent the usual paperwork. New ownership notice. Maintenance contact information. A polite offer for relocation help. Cash for keys if it came to that. The next morning, my phone rang. Patricia. She didn't recognize the number. Didn't recognize my voice either. The moment I introduced myself, she started yelling. Words like vultures, predators, faceless leeches. I let her shout. Didn't interrupt. Didn't defend. Just listened until she ran out of breath. Then I asked to meet. Public place, neutral ground. People tend to stay civil when someone's refilling their coffee. We met at a family diner just outside of town. I brought Leo and Emma. They wanted pancakes, so they got crayons and placemats instead of answers. William looked smaller than I remembered, not weak, just worn down. Patricia's lipstick was uneven, a brown coffee stain near the collar of her blouse. They looked like 2 people who'd spent too long believing they couldn't lose. William started with numbers, said they were open to negotiation. Patricia followed, voice sharp but tired. We just need a little more time. A few months, until Vanessa's business picks back up. And then Vanessa showed up, late. No makeup, no camera crew, designer bag that didn't even match her shoes. She looked at me, then at the kids, then back again. Can you talk to the new landlord? She asked quietly. Explain what this house means to us? I looked down at Leo and Emma, still coloring, still happy, then back at her. We already are, I said. I reached into my bag and slid a letter across the table. Clearview Properties Limited Liability Company is now the legal owner of 529 Cedar Lane. Patricia read it twice. William's mouth opened, then closed. Vanessa stayed silent. I paid less than you would have gotten, I said, if you treated me like family instead of a squatter, but I'm not here to gloat. I opened a second folder and placed it on the table. Oak Ridge Assisted Living. Clean. Quiet. Paid 6 months ahead through Clearview as relocation support. Move-in dates flexible. Patricia's hands trembled as she touched the brochure. She didn't cry. Vanessa cleared her throat. And me? She asked. Your studio was never a lease, I said. It was a favor. You can collect your dresses Saturday. Locks change Monday. She blinked like her brain couldn't catch up. But where am I supposed to? That's not my problem, I said. William leaned forward, hand hovering near mine. Nathan, he said softly, this isn't how it was supposed to go. I pulled my hand back. You had a chance to open a door once, I said. You chose a chain. Leo's crayon rolled off the table. Emma asked if she could have whipped cream on her pancakes. I paid the check and walked the kids out while William and Patricia stayed seated in a booth that didn't belong to them anymore. And for the first time since the day we buried Diana, the weight sitting on my chest finally felt lighter, like it wasn't mine to carry anymore. 3 years after the funeral, the whole thing happened quietly. No headlines, no gossip, just a clean process. Daniel, the property manager, handled everything. The move out, the keys in a plain envelope. Curtains folded neatly. No shouting, no cameras. The twins stayed on routine. School drop-offs, lunchboxes, bedtime stories. Life had a rhythm again. Patricia moved into Oak Ridge. She called twice. The first voicemail was half an apology tangled in excuses, something about trying to protect what was theirs. The second message was only breathing, then crying, then the beep. I didn't call back. I didn't hate her, but I wasn't there to patch her heart. 2 weeks later, Vanessa posted a story. One slide, white background, starting over, one step at a time. No hashtags, no filters, just softer than usual. I texted her a short list, 5 storefronts that rent month to month. One of them was across from the laundromat where I used to sketch permit layouts on napkins. She never answered. It took 10 days to get the house ready. We kept the bones, original wood, crown molding, even that crack in the hallway tile Diana always tripped over. Fresh paint. Safe stairs. Good light. I stood in the upstairs hallway one night, windows cracked open, the air perfectly still. It was the kind of quiet that used to mean nap time, when even footsteps felt too loud. I was holding the listing paperwork, and I couldn't go through with it. I called Daniel. Take the listing down, I said. We're not selling. Convert it, I added. It's in DHN field office now. The dining room became our training space. The garage turned into a tool library, shelves lined with donated drills, step ladders, and voltage testers with frayed cords we fixed ourselves. George claimed the kitchen table and started teaching apprentices how to read permits without getting ripped off. Tony showed them how to hang a door that wouldn't swell or drag in the summer heat. In the front room, where the light hit strongest around noon, we framed Diana's very first sketch of DHN. The pencil lines were faint, but the message still clear. Simple, honest, real. By our 3rd year, we'd crossed 385,000 users across 3 states. We grew slow on purpose. Careful. We didn't let everyone in, and we had no problem showing people the door when they didn't meet the standard. I didn't care how polished their photos were. I cared if they showed up, worked clean, and finished what they started. Carol and Frank came to the ribbon cutting. Carol wore lipstick for the first time in a year, clutching a thermos of coffee with both hands like it was armor. When I handed her the plaque, engraved, "When we needed a door, you opened one," she covered her mouth and turned away. Frank just nodded and said quietly, "She's proud of you." That was all he needed to say. A Saturday in May, I took Leo and Emma to the paint store, told them they could pick the color. They pointed to the brightest, loudest, most ridiculous blue on the wall. The clerk laughed when I said, "Yeah, that one." We painted the front door together. Emma got streaks in her hair. Leo left a blue footprint on the driveway. We ate pizza on the porch steps and watched the sun dry the paint. A neighbor pushing a stroller walked by and said, "Looks better on you." I just nodded. No speeches, no reflection, just work. That night, after pajamas, brushing teeth, and a full-scale meltdown over the wrong bedtime story, I tucked them in. "Dad," Leo asked, "why'd we paint the door blue?" "Because it's ours now," I said. Emma whispered, "Did Mommy see it?" I kissed her forehead. "Everything good here started with her," I told her. Later, when the house went still again, the only sounds the fridge humming and the soft rhythm of 2 sleeping kids, I sat alone in the living room. The quiet didn't ache anymore. It felt earned. I hadn't hit it big, didn't strike gold. But I'd won back something better, our home, our name, and the right to tell our own story. That was enough. If you were in my shoes, after everything they did, would you have taken the house back or walked away for peace? Let me know in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.